Good morning, good afternoon or good evening everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to another instalment in the Sydney Railroad build. If you're watching last time, you will have seen me start on the track laying in the main yard area. I got about halfway through that and then I ran out of grey feeder wire, so I had to order some more. And while I was waiting for that, I decided to start on the fascia. I got one day into that project and then the wire arrived, so I was able to get back to track laying and finish the main yard. So without further ado, let's just head out to the workshop and lay that track. Well, last time I was out here, I reported that I was waiting for wire again. So now while I'm waiting for that wire, I'm going to start working on fascia. Now I've already discussed with the client, and I'm not going to do the fascia in the main canyon area because that's going to be fairly tall and open to interpretation, and also make those sections more difficult to maneuver, to pack up and to ship and to reinstall. So I'm going to leave that fascia for the client to do, and I'm going to start at this end where the chair is. I'm going to work my way around the end of the peninsula and back down this side. I only have a little more than an hour this morning before I got to go out, but it's probably enough to get at least a couple of pieces of fascia installed. There is this cutout in the bottom of the frame here. I know there was a very good reason for doing that over a year ago when I built it, but for the life of me I cannot remember what that reason was. But obviously I ended up doing something different, because otherwise I would have made use of it by now. So I'm just going to fill that in before I cut the fascia. So let me just get back to work and I will talk to you again later. Well, that's 2 pieces of fascia installed. I don't have any more time this morning, but at least that's 2 pieces more that I can do this afternoon before I run out of clamps. I'm going to go inside now, get ready to go out. I'll talk to you again later. Well, that is 3 more pieces of fascia installed. It's most of my offcuts and most of my clamps used up. I've also put in some bracing on these taller pieces. You can see it here. Just small offcuts of plywood, keeping the fascia vertical. It's screwed to the risers underneath. I've also taken a little bit of extra effort to put them in level and all at the same height, so they can do double duty in supporting the foam planks to carve the scenery out of later, even though I won't be doing the scenery on this portion. I feel it's necessary to put these braces in on the taller pieces of fascia to make sure that it stays straight, because in my opinion wobbly fascia looks like crap. Anyway, I want to leave all these clamps on the sharp curve in overnight. The rest of the clamps I think I still want to leave a little bit longer, so I'm going to go in now, take a break, and I'm going to come out and continue again later. Well, that is 3 benchwork sections of fascia done on the upper level, and that is all my clamps used up. So I'm going to call that a day, and I'm going to go in and work on something else inside for the rest of the day. I plan to be back out here bright and early tomorrow morning, where I will continue, and I'll see you then. While I was working on the fascia yesterday, the wire that I had ordered arrived. Here's 1 roll. I actually ordered 5 rolls. I ordered 2 of these and some other colours that I was getting low on as well. So I should have enough wire to finish the railroad now. Famous last words. I doubt it, but I have enough to be going on with all the colours I might need. So rather than continue with the fascia, I'm going to go back to track laying. I've hung all the clamps back up on the wall so they're not in my way, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing at the end of last week. It'll only take me a few minutes to get reorganised, and the next piece of track to go in is that turnout in front of the camera now. So I'm just going to get back to work and I will talk to you again later. Well, that is all the classification tracks finished, and I've got this extra turnout in leading back to this industrial spur. I think next I'm going to get some code 55 track and put that spur in, and then I will turn my attention to working my way back down to the other end again. I've just taken a short break give the track weights time to do their job so I don't disturb them before the glue is set. But I think they can come off now and then I can continue. Well, that is the industrial spur installed, code 55, along with the through-fare track as far as the benchwork joint, back to code 70 again. I've also connected the next two turnouts in our diamond crossing as a sub-assembly for the next two industrial spurs that cross. Haven't installed it yet. That will be the first task after lunch. I'm going to go and get some food and I will come back out and talk to you again later. I've now positioned this sub-assembly accurately, and I'm running into a spot of bother with the switch machine at the far end. I removed this section of benchwork underneath it with the lead track for the mezzanine staging, thinking that it would make that switch machine more accessible. There is the hole right in the middle of the frame now, and I still am not going to be able to get my head into a position where I can see the hole in the throw bar. So I think it's going to be very difficult still to get at it from underneath. What I'm thinking I should now do is cut a groove in the foam for a piece of brass tubing and surface mount the switch machine under the industrial structure that will be along the backdrop at that point. I think that's going to be by far the easiest way to make it accessible. There is another one at the other end, just past the Mountain Dew cans, that I have to do the same thing with. So let me go inside, find my brass tubing, and I'll be right back. Well, there is that sub-assembly positioned, not glued in place yet, but I do have all the feeders in, all 10 of them. And I've got the brass tubing in a groove in the foam. There's a loop in the end that the activating rod from the switch machine will drop down through, and then a piece of 30-second piano wire through the tube and up through the end of the throw bar. The tube is there so that the wire does not get glued to the scenery if any glue gets on it, because the tube can be glued or not, it doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to install the switch machine yet, but I'm just going to take this out, put the glue under it, and glue that in place permanently, and then I can continue with the plain track. With that second industrial spur installed, that is all I can reach from the far side. So I've moved everything back to the front of the benchwork again, and I'm now prepping the next piece of track from the aisle. Actually, I've got the next two pieces of track prepped, feeders in, ready to install. I just got to turn them over, put some glue on them, and then get them glued down. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Well, I have those two pieces of track installed and weighted down. I've also prepped the last two turnouts for the main yard and the last piece of plain track on the thoroughfare. Or is it a throughfare? I'm not quite sure. These last two turnouts both have to have the switch machine surface mounted in the distance, so I have started working on those. They're quite involved. I don't have enough time to finish in the day. It's already time to go in and get Zeus fed, but I can get them done first thing tomorrow morning. I was wrong about something I said earlier. I thought I had bought brass tubing for this purpose, just in case I needed it. It turns out I only bought piano wire. However, I did find a small amount of 30-second brass tubing in my personal stash. Not as much as I would have liked, but it's enough to make it work, just about, with nothing left over. Anyway, that's enough waffling for this evening. I'm going to go back in, get Zeus fed, and I'll talk to you again in the morning. The first thing I did this morning was to create the two operating rods for these two special turnouts. It didn't take very long at all, because I already knew exactly what I was aiming for, having worked out the first one yesterday. I start by using needle nose pliers to put a tight loop in the end of the wire, just the right size for the wire on the switch machine to go through without excessive slop. Now I thread it through the brass tube and put a 90-degree bend in the other end, making sure that the loop is the right orientation relative to it. For this particular application, it needs to be horizontal for a vertical mount switch machine. If I was mounting the switch machine horizontally, I would need a vertical loop. Next thing to do now is to get some feeder wires installed on those two turnouts and that short piece of track, and then I can get all that glued in place. Well, those last two turnouts have now been permanently installed along with the last piece of the thoroughfare track. All that I have left to do now is 5 more spurs. 2 over there, 2 there, and 1 where the Mountain Dew cans are. Most of those can be reached best from the access holes in the middle of the aisle, so I'm going to move my tools over that side, get reorganized, and continue. Well, that is all 5 of those spurs installed. And actually that is all the track in the main yard done. There's still a lot of feeders that need to be hooked up at the bottom. Anyway, it's about lunchtime now, so I'm going to go in and then I'll come back out and see about finishing the wiring. Well, other than the fact that I have collected up all the weights, you probably can't see any difference, but all the feeder wires have now been hooked up, both top and bottom, for the whole length of the yard. It's still pretty early, but I don't feel like starting on switch machines now, so I'm going to go inside. I've got plenty to get on with in there. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it useful or interesting, or both, and I hope to see you back next week. I know in that video I said my next task was going to be installing switch machines, but I decided to leave that for a while and I'll be getting on with something different. So until then, thanks for watching and bye for now.